Last night, at my direction, the United States military successfully executed a flawless precision strike that killed the #1 terrorist anywhere in the world.
President Trump speaking to the nation just over an hour ago about the military mission that killed Iran's top general. And the consequences have been swift. The U.S. is now sending 3,500 additional troops to the Middle East, and oil prices are spiking around the world. President Trump praised what he sees as a military victory. One U.S. official says the Iranian general was planning a series of attacks across Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria. It comes after weeks of chaos in the region, a drone strike that killed a U.S. contractor, followed by additional strikes from the U.S., then days of protests and violence at the U.S. Embassy. Lawmakers here at home not questioning whether or not the general was a terrorism leader, but questioning why they weren't consulted about the military action.
This action may well have brought our nation closer to another endless war, exactly the kind of endless war the president promised he would not drag us into.
The question now is, how will Iran respond? Possibly by attacking oil tankers or ships like they were accused of doing last year, or by trying to take out a prominent American military or diplomatic official. The rising tensions between the U.S. and Iran are being closely watched right now by Cleveland's Iranian community, who worry it might lead to an even bigger conflict. News 5's Jordan Vandenberg joins us live from the newsroom to explain why.
Well, Danita, at about 3,000 people, Cleveland's Iranian and Persian communities are smaller than other ethnic populations in the city, but many of them who are doctors and engineers came to the United States to escape Iran's oppressive regime. The world is so much bigger than we realize, but yet it's small enough to where what happens there can impact people living here.
Iranians, they do want to have a good relationship with Americans. And we know, live here for over 20 years. I know American wants to as well.
Reza Tajaliawal lived in Tehran throughout his childhood. Family photos show Reza being held by his older brother as he blew out the birthday candles. Those smiles were not permanent. Reza's brother soon became an enemy of Iran's oppressive regime.
He was captured. According to his cellmates, he was tortured. And ultimately, he was executed after 6 months in prison. That actually devastated my whole family.
Reza eventually followed his family to the United States in 1996 and came to Cleveland 3 years ago. He helped found the Persian Cleveland Community, a support group for Iranian-Americans. Reza says the escalating conflict between the United States and Iran is more than worrisome.
If any conflict arises, I think it's going to be very massive, far bigger than what we experience in Iraq and Afghanistan and even Syria. Where you come from are your family. My most concern are the children that they have been struggling for past few years trying to feed themselves.
Reza says Iran's totalitarian regime isn't representative of its people, and any further conflict between the two nations will have the biggest impact on innocent children and families.
Ultimately, one thing we're really trying to avoid to make sure that Iranian people start believing the Iranian regime and believe that America is against them. U.S. American people are not against Iranian people.
For the sakes of both countries, Reza hopes diplomacy and cooler heads prevail. And although he's proud of where he came from, he's even more proud to be where he is now.
We are Americans, you know. I love this country. I could never live anywhere else but this country.